Happy Monday, everybody. I wanted to spend some time this morning talking to you guys about the Inside Infinite blog that talks all about Halo Infinite and the PC Master Race. As you guys know, I am a card-carrying member of both the PC Master Race and the Ultrawide Master Race. And I've got a lot of really cool news to talk about today. I had a bunch of video already, processed, ready to go. So that's what I uploaded this weekend, but it's a fresh week. The backlog is cleared out, and I want to talk all about Halo because you guys know I do constantly talk about Halo, and I love it so much. Before I get into today's blog, I would love for you guys to subscribe to the channel. It would help me out a ton. Halo Infinite is all signs point to it coming out this year. I still don't think it's going to happen. I still think it's going to be delayed. But if these blogs are anything to go off of, we know that it is really hot in development at this point. And there's actually a leak rumor kind of going around that we may actually see some gameplay at E3 in just 1 month, which would be insane. But let's not talk about that. Let's talk about facts. And here's the facts. We've got a big deep dive this week about the Halo Infinite gameplay on PC. And there's a lot of big news here. First and foremost, right out of the bat, bam, you can now play this on Super Ultra Wide. I don't even have Super Ultra Wide, but if you did have a Super Ultra Wide, you can play Halo Infinite at a whopping 32:9 Super Ultra Wide aspect ratio. This looks incredible. Ultrawide support, just as a tangent, has been something that the PC universe has struggled with. I cannot tell you how many games I play that do not support ultrawide or super ultrawide, and it's frustrating because you end up getting borders on the side of your screen. Cutscenes don't look quite right. Text overlay doesn't look quite right. But when it works, man, does it look incredible. Nice big curved display, lots of peripheral vision, and that's really cool. So the fact that Halo is going to support that, honestly, is something I feel like every game should do at this point. I don't feel like we should be celebrating Halo by doing this. I think the reality is we should just be happy that it's being done. That said, I wish more developers would do it. But hey, we're going to get it for Halo, and that is really exciting. Then they go into their standard interview type panel. I don't like these blogs. I like the Ask 343, which is a much more pointed Q&A session. This is more of just kind of like a tech babble of things and who are they and what do they do, and this guy played on an Atari 2600. That's great, dude. You played Unreal Tournament 2004. That's great. But we want to know about Halo. We don't really, I don't want to say I don't care about the developers because developers make the games, but everybody's got a story, okay? Let's get to the meat. So here we go. We got some more images of the new ultra-wide screenshots. That really dominates the conversation early on in this blog. Then they start talking about a lot of other things. And this is where I think it gets really exciting. I want to highlight this and talk about this for just a moment. First and foremost, they're going to support triple keybinds. Now, triple keybinds, honestly, is kind of a nonsensical thing. You typically don't need that. What is a keybind? Obviously, you press a button, something happens. You press F to melee or to pay respects, and it works. But maybe you don't always hit F. Maybe you want to hit 4. I don't know. Now 4 or F could be melee or pay respects. But what if you wanted F, 4, and the letter O to also be pay respects or reload or whatever? You could. That is what triple key binding is. The reality is you're probably not going to need that many key bindings. That's more of like a panic. That's if like people don't really know how to play and they're just smashing keys, or they're trying to learn a new control scheme, but they want to have Old Faithful in their back pocket. 3 is a bit excessive, but okay. The one that I think is interesting, and again, I don't really necessarily think this is a magical thing to Halo, and I don't know why this is so lauded, but they are supporting input devices, including Xbox controllers and non-Xbox controllers. Well, every PC game, guys, can be played with a Xbox or a non-Xbox controller, just like the universal serial bus input is a generic input, and it can process many different things. That's why you see people beating Dark Souls with DK bongo drums, and that's why you see people playing Call of Duty on Rock Band or with a potato and an electrode. You name it. You can get an input in a computer, you can play it. Again, so far I don't really feel like the first bullet point obviously being super ultra wide. Hell yeah. Triple key bindings, so what? Wide input devices, so what? That doesn't really excite me. But we do move on to some other things. And this is where I feel like we are starting to see some improvement here. And that has to do with matchmaking. Now, how we do matchmaking now is you are matchmake, typically, depends on the game, but typically it's PC versus PC, console versus console. Master Chief Collection does mix it up, and they are carrying that forward. So now you will be able to play against other people of similar control scheme. And your control scheme is locked when you start a game, just like it is in Call of Duty, just like it is in a lot of other games, where you can pick what you want to play as, but you're going to be matchmake against it. So if you're on a PC playing in super ultra wide and you are having a blast, and you want to play against somebody on console who doesn't have super ultra wide, as long as you guys are both using controllers, you're going to be matched against each other. Now, some people may say that's an advantage or disadvantage. I will tell you, as someone who loves the ultra wide, yeah, you are going to get a major competitive advantage with ultra wide. I can see things way better than other people. But what they are saying is that the way that Halo is balanced is that extra peripheral view isn't going to necessarily make or break your game. It's just going to be more immersion and eye candy. Don't really know if I believe that claim, but I'm excited because it will open up the player pool. And I think that's really, really important. That's something that we have struggled with as a fan of the Halo Master Chief Collection. Looking at that game on Steam charts, sit around anywhere from 8 to 10,000 active players at any given time. Obviously, that's Steam. There's a lot of people on console. There's a lot of people on the Xbox Game Pass app. But we've always struggled with having a really rich population. So the fact that you can get more people into matches, regardless of how they get there, whether it's by the cloud, whether it's by their Xbox One, whether it's by their Xbox Series X, by their PC, doesn't matter. The fact that you can get more people in matches early on is good, and that is what is going to help really progress the multiplayer and the competitive sport of this. That's no doubt about it. And that's actually good news. So I'm really, really happy for that. They talk a lot about field of view and about aspect ratios. Again, this blog is dominated by that. And if you are not aware of field of view or aspect ratios, you get a really pretty picture right here, but you can see way more in this view in the ultra wide and the super ultra wide, which now I need to upgrade my monitor. You can see significantly more. Just look at like the same photo with this guy in the center. Look at how much more, if I draw kind of a line with my cursor, look at how much more you can see here in this area, and then how much more you can see in this area. Now, if a guy was standing here right in front of this pillar, right, you would not see him on your regular 16:9 resolution because he'd be off screen. You may see a smidge of him on my ultra wide, but super ultra wide, you'd see him. Now, what Halo is saying is you're going to be trained to look at this radar, and you're going to know there's a little red dot, and it's going to tell you, hey, there's a dude over here, which is going to help you. Now, the fact that you can see the person as opposed to just see the little red dot, that's what Halo is saying in terms of like, hey, listen, if you don't have the greatest tech, it's okay. You're going to have your own scan patterns anyway. You're going to be able to find this out anyway, and you're going to know where the enemies are. You could also kind of cheat that with some of the field view stuff if you want to do like fisheye lenses, which gets you really dizzy. I hate that. But if you want to get crazy with the field of view, you can as well. The idea, though, is that they're giving you customization on the PC, which is phenomenal, and it's well received. It should be an industry standard. The fact that they even have to talk about it, honestly, makes you realize just how sad the state of PC gaming is at times, because this should be industry standard stuff, but it's not. But that's okay. We got some more images here of some of the campaign work, art in progress. We've seen a lot of this before in the trailer. One of the things somebody pointed out on one of these pictures, and it may be this one, but I mean, people are really stretching for stuff, confirming that choppers are back in the game. It might be this photo, like in this area. I'm going to scroll through the rest of them, but somebody said in one of the pictures, if you zoom way in, it looks like the front tire. It might be that little speck right there in front of my monitor or my mouse there. Somebody said that choppers are confirmed. And I know Halo loves to put Easter eggs and stuff. They put hidden links in here all the time to audio conversations and weird web pages and the augmented reality games and the Hunt the Truth podcast and all these other things. So would not surprise me at all if that's a little teaser that we are getting choppers back. But if we had choppers back, oh man, I am so excited. That is, second to a fully loaded hog, of course, the best vehicle in Halo, and you can fight me on that. And they do a little rapid fire Q&A, kind of like what features are people interested in. You get some little nuggets here. As we talked about, you know, the ultra wide settings and the fact that it supports everything, including in-game, narrative moments, menus, the works. So in other words, ultrawide is not just limited to gameplay. As I mentioned earlier, there are so many times when you are playing and the stupid screen is not, the cutscene is not made for ultrawide, so you get black borders on the edge of your screen. The menu overlay doesn't look quite right. The fact that this is a full and narrative experience 100% indicates to me I will be playing this on my computer entirely, which I had planned on doing anyway, but now it's going to look and feel incredible. They talk a lot about, you know, you can play with your friends wherever you're at, whether you're on Steam, Xbox, Game Pass for PC, it doesn't matter. The fact that they're going to integrate into, and this is something I didn't talk about too much, I'll be curious to see how this plays out. You can join your friends through Xbox, Steam, or Discord, making it convenient to get into a match regardless of the platform your friends play on. Something that I have struggled with, we'll talk a lot about it this week on the War Never Changes podcast, is just how hard it is when you have these merging companies. When EA jumped from Origin to their new EA launcher, when Xbox, quote-unquote, bought out EA essentially to bring some of those games over to Game Pass, trying to sync up with your friends, who's friends on what list, it's a pain in the butt. The fact that they are going to get a nice solid back end that's going to allow you to connect across the network period. If you have a copy of the game, you will be able to find other people playing a copy of the game. Does a lot of things. Breaks down barriers, number one, in terms of how you consume your media. Number two, again, and this is what I care about as a Halo diehard, is it brings high quality matches back to the front because you have a much larger pool of players to play against. So I'm very, very excited for that. I'm not a Discord guy. I am and will always be a TeamSpeak man. TeamSpeak is my jam. We use Slack on the side to talk. We have a little friends Slack group. I don't think we'd ever port to Discord personally. However, the Halo Discord is a ghost town. So maybe we can get that popping again with some gameplay stuff in here. We'll have to wait and see. There's also many other options as I talked about. Here's just some screenshots of what you can expect to see on the PC variant. A lot of these are very standard settings. I know they're showing these off as this is ooh and ah, but this is very, very standard resolution scale, frame rate, VSync, etc. That's really nothing new to the space. They're allowing you, now this is slightly different. On Halo Master Chief Collection, there are only like presets of graphics. You could have like standard, enhanced graphics, or like basic bitch graphics. The fact that they are allowing you now in a Halo game to tweak your reflections, depth of field, each individual setting as a single toggleable is nice. Again, this should be industry standard. This is not something exciting or new or hype. All good games do this, but it's nice that Halo's taking the time to do what is expected of them and allow you to toggle your settings. So if you're like, you know what, my graphics card's chugging just a smidge, I'm going to dump the reflections just a touch, you can. I like that. Here's your triple binding. As I mentioned, here's your 3 columns. So if you want to crouch, you could hit Control, C, or V. Why the hell you would need 3 inputs is beyond me, but this 3rd column is obviously generating quite a bit of hype, not for me personally, but there we have it. I believe we're getting close to the end of the blog here. If there's any other major news, just kind of scanning through here, talking a lot about, oh, here's an interesting one. LAN games, local area network. Back in the day, we used to always like party up on our computers by plugging in LANs directly. Now that changed over years and you would have to be on the network. The network would host your game. They are announcing that with Halo Infinite, they're bringing back the LAN party element. So if you're old school like me and you want to have the ability to go to a friend's house with your gaming PC and do a cross-connect cable right in the back of your buddy's computer, you can. If your buddy's got a cheap little hub and everybody brings their computer over, you can do it local. You don't need the network. This was the bane, and I cannot stress this enough. This was the bane of the Microsoft Store experience because I played a ton of tournaments at the Microsoft Store back when it existed for Halo 5 Guardians, and the network connection was horrible. And because the game required you to connect to a server that was hosted in Microsoft's cloud somewhere, you had really, really piss-poor matches. And I think that's what really killed that experience. And I'm very, very adamant because I love that experience and I played the heck out of it. And it was taken away from us prematurely. So now that we are, yeah, and that is the chopper. I was just looking off screen. That's the one they're talking about. The fact that you're going to be able to do local area tournaments now, local is going to change the competitive landscape. It's going to affect the LAN party landscape, and it's something that is much, much, much desired. This is really the Halo Infinite game that we wanted a PC port of Halo to be from the beginning. I understood they were handcuffed by some of the old stuff on the Master Chief Collection, specifically with how graphics and gameplay and some of the mechanics worked. This seems like they've listened, they've modernized their franchise, they've modernized the experience, they understand what gamers want to see, they understand what settings gamers expect to see, and they understand what peripherals, devices, and how we play games, and how we consume our media. So this is all goodness. Does this do anything to quell the fear that Halo 5 is going to be a good game? Slightly. We still got a long ways to go in the graphic department. I'm still not convinced that 343's ability to tell a coherent story, and I'm still not convinced on 343's ability to fix the litany of technical issues that they tried to shovel out to us when we saw that horrendous gameplay demo. However, all of that said, we now know that they're building a strong foundation for all of those things with phenomenal PC support, with phenomenal gameplay support and customization and modernization. They're bringing the franchise into 2021 where it belongs. Now, will it be good? That remains to be seen, but rest assured, the next time there is a blog, you know I'll be covering it. That wraps up today's episode. I hope you guys found it informative. Thank you all so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.